Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has promised to release an Indian pilot whose plane was shot down during clashes over the disputed territory of Kashmir. Video showing the pilot blindfolded and with blood on his face was shared by Pakistan's Information Ministry. India described the images as a vulgar display of an injured personnel. This is what Imran Khan had to say in Parliament a short time ago.
We've got the Indian pilot, and as a peace gesture, we're releasing him to India tomorrow.
So, short and sweet statement by Imran Khan. For more on this, let's go to Islamabad and speak to Tahir Imran, and from Delhi, Sangeeta Maiska. Tahir, if I can start with you. This is being done without any conditions?
It appears that there are no conditions as yet, because during his speech to the parliament, Imran Khan spoke twice about calling Narendra Modi the Indian Prime Minister, but did not say if he managed to speak. And then he also mentioned that he sent message. So we don't know what sort of message that was and what sort of communication happened. But that was all of a surprise at the end of his speech in the parliament, that this pilot is going to be released tomorrow.
Sangeeta, does this de-escalate things now?
So it's very interesting. This has been a morning of surprises. Imran Khan, in an incredibly casual manner, he'd actually made a speech to Parliament in which he had reiterated Pakistan's commitment to peace with India. He said that he had reached out to Prime Minister Modi and tried to phone him. He actually got up and he then walked out of Parliament. He then turned around, came back, sat down and made this very swift comment, oh, I forgot to say we're going to release the Indian pilot tomorrow. So tonally, very casual, but obviously hugely significant. On top of that, we had Donald Trump this morning, again in a very surprising move, suggesting very strongly that the Americans were somehow brokering a deal that would de-escalate the situation. But here in Delhi, absolutely no reaction. We know that there is supposed to be a press conference scheduled in a few hours. Whether or not that happens has yet to be confirmed. So is there a de-escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan? One would expect that there certainly would be. What has become very clear over the past 48 hours that neither Pakistan nor India are interested in a full-scale armed conflict. What seems to be happening on a political front is both countries have been trying to work out how they can extricate themselves from what has been the most tense situation for about 20 years here, whilst both appearing to have got the upper hand and saving face.
Well, that was my point, actually. I mean, doesn't it appear to give Imran Khan, Sangeeta, the upper hand here? Because we're facing elections in India, as you've said on previous days, and there's a real groundswell of support to take more punitive action against Pakistan in certain sectors of Indian society.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? So Imran Khan today, with a huge amount of largesse in his vocabulary, suggesting that Pakistan had put its hand out for peace. At one point, he said in this address to his parliament that if India was to take just one step forward, then Pakistan would take 2 steps forward in order to meet them. This is a tricky situation for Prime Minister Modi. He has elections coming up in about 6 weeks' time. Remember, 4 years ago, he was elected with an absolute majority. That hadn't happened for any government for about 30 years. But actually, the polls were suggesting this time around he was going to be returned with a much slimmer majority, if any majority at all. When the tension started rising 2 weeks ago, what we saw, as you quite rightly point out, was a groundswell of opinion here in India. People saying that they wanted India to act in retaliation after 40 Indian troops were killed by Pakistan-based Islamists. That retaliation was going to be anything from sanctions all the way up to ground strikes that we saw India carry out on Tuesday. So they sent aircraft into the air and they claimed that they had hit a militant training camp based on Pakistani soil. So what Prime Minister Modi has had to do is try and make sure he doesn't lose that core support of people who want retaliation, but also try and react to the international community, who have very clearly been calling on both sides in this scenario of rising tensions to calm things down and de-escalate.
OK, Sangeeta and Tahir Imran, thank you very much indeed. Let's get more now on that story, because tensions have been rising on the line of control as well between Indian administered Kashmir and Pakistan administered Kashmir as well. Our correspondent Yogita Lamai has been there.
We're just a few kilometers from the line of control, the de facto border between India and Pakistan, in one of the last villages on the Indian side called Kalal. Although you can't see any military installations behind me, you can hear those noises, and we've been able to see smoke coming up from the mountains just behind us. Now, villagers living here tell me that they've been hearing these sounds pretty continuously ever since India launched airstrikes in Pakistan 2 days ago. Since then, we've had India saying that they've shot down a Pakistani jet, Pakistan saying they shot down one Indian warplane, and we've had these kind of ceasefire violations at multiple points along this line of control. The situation here suddenly seems to be escalating, very tense between India and Pakistan.